Hey, are you kicking butt in your career, but you're still struggling with your fitness, your body confidence, maybe even some low energy? Do you ever look at your success on paper and just wonder, like, why doesn't my body, my confidence, and my health actually reflect the success that I built in my career, my business? You built discipline in your work, of course, otherwise you wouldn't have the success that you've got here. You've hit these milestones that most people dream of. So why is it? Why does this one area for you still feel so frustrating, out of reach? Well, most high achievers still think that if they can really just find the right workout or eat clean enough or find the perfect meal plan for just a few weeks, everything is just going to click. But what if the real issue actually isn't your workout plan? What if it's not your meal plan or doing some sort of short-term weight loss program? What if it's actually your inputs, what you're allowing in your mind, your environment, your inner circle that are actually sabotaging your consistency, your energy, and your health, aka your inputs, all right? We're talking about what goes in here, what goes in here. Today, I'm going to actually break down how your current inputs, which is the media that you consume, all the way down to everything from your inner circle, the people that you allow to be closest to you, all the way to the words that you repeat, the people that you listen to, what you think, what you speak to yourself, what you allow those thoughts to roll around in your head could actually be quietly sabotaging your health and fitness efforts. And I'm going to also show you how to rewire those inputs to finally get the output that you actually want, just like you've done in business and career. We know that whatever you have consistently in your inputs will dictate what you get on your outputs or from your outputs. So what we're going to do is figure out how to rewire those to get the outputs that you want so you can get lasting energy, real consistency for your health and fitness, and a body that reflects your maximum potential with peak fulfillment, but without living like some sort of fitness monk or a pro bodybuilder. That's the cool thing. So, hey, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lance, and since 2005, I've coached hundreds upon hundreds of busy online professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders to actually achieve permanent fat loss, build lean muscle, and actually get their energy back without burnout, without rigidness, or any extreme methods. If you're tired of wondering why your health just doesn't match the level of success that you've built in your career, stick around. This is absolutely going to help you change that. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right. So the very first thing you need to know is that what you feed your mind is going to shape your life. This is what we call input versus output. So what comes in your head, what comes in your ears, your eyes, and especially what you say repeatedly becomes your output, okay? So listening to negative people, toxic podcasts, divisive news, propaganda, replaying old lies that people spoke over you, whether it was an older sibling, parents, whether it was, teachers, whatever it might have been, all of that is a program for your brain, okay? So the key is that you need to know is that as a man thinketh, so he becomes, all right? That's not cliche. In fact, while it is a book, it wasn't a book until it was actually borrowed from the word, okay? So if you're following me, you know that we're going to make sure that your health and fitness aligns with the biblical structure that has made you successful in your career. And so what I like to make sure that everybody knows is that so many out there are teaching how to get fit and how to lose weight and all of this stuff in using methods that I would call built on sand, so that when real life comes, whether it's, busyness or it's, having kids or it's starting a new business, any of those things, or it's, a funeral, God forbid, somebody gets married, okay? These are the sort of things that end up causing all of your progress to wash away, just like the sand would. What I want to help you to do is actually to build your health and fitness structure on the rock, the same way that we think about with the Word of God, okay? So with that, we want to know that, really understand that as a man thinketh, so he becomes, is not a cliche. It's the word and it's the truth. So whatever you meditate or focus on long enough with enough emotion and belief is going to shape how you think, how you act, and eventually who you become, okay? So I want you to think of it, and chances are you've probably heard of this, but I want you to think of it as a new light, because so many people get successful in their business and their career, and they don't realize that those same principles, or the same principles that have allowed you to raise good kids and to keep yourself connected at church, those same principles, if they're universal, they should be able to apply to your health and fitness, okay? So I want you to think of this as a chain reaction. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a lifestyle, okay? This applies not to just your business, not to just your relationships, not just to your identity, but to your health and fitness as well. The second thing we've got to do is we've got to cut out any of the noise that's keeping you stuck. And I'll explain that. You cannot keep feeding yourself trash and expect to produce treasure. Putting another way is you've got to start reducing negative inputs. You got to limit time around negative people, even if they're family or coworkers. It doesn't mean you have to cut somebody out, but what it does mean is that you've got to set emotional boundaries. And if they cannot abide by those boundaries, then you limit yourself to, or your exposure to them, until at least until you're strong enough that you're no longer affected or is impacted by their environment or their atmosphere, okay? You've got to stop flooding your brain with constant news or news cycles or social media or algorithm-driven fear-mongering. Guys, I don't care whether it's on nutrition, where they're like, look at this food, you've got to stay away from it. I, of course, am going to teach you that there are foods that you do want to avoid. And there are going to be things where they've got bioengineered food products in them, or things that are highly inflammatory and what have you, or if they just really shouldn't even be in a food. But demonizing foods and just saying I've got to just clean this up, no more cake, no more sugar, no more this, no more that, that is an extreme that is being built on sand instead of being built on the rock, okay? So you're going to hear me say that a lot on this channel, because that is the premise of everything that we do, is that we want to live according to life or eternal measures in our spiritual, in our physical, in our relationships. Everything is bigger than this one life that we're leading here. And with that being said, the same goes for how we treat this body that we're given. And you can drop some weight by doing some of these extreme measures. You can, drop some weight without doing some of these things that I'm talking about here. But if you want long-term, permanent lifestyle alignment fitness, where you are fit, healthy, and you enjoy the process, this is how you do it. And so what we want to do is stop flooding our brain with the things that are actually creating negative outputs. So you want to cut back on any music or media and movies that are going to carry messages or agendas that pull you away from your goals, your values, your identity, and especially if it doesn't align with the word, okay? Because these things, whether you realize it or not, it is an input, and it is going to affect the output. And that means how you show up in the gym, if at all, how you show up for your family, how you show up for your career, and how you show up with the nutrition, the mindset, what you speak, and following through, all right? So if it drains your spirit, it is draining your output. It is altering your output. It is going to affect how you show up and if you show up consistently. Okay, so the other thing that I always like to teach with my clients is that you can't dump out the old, so you want to overflow it with new programming for our subconscious minds to get better actions and outputs. What I mean by this is that your subconscious mind or your unconscious mind is kind of like a full bucket. You're not going to be able to dump it out. What's in there is in there, at least until you overflow it with new, better stuff, okay? The way that I like to explain this is, imagine a big 5-gallon bucket, okay? And it's filled with kind of dirty, mucky water, and you want it to be clean. Let's say that this water or this bucket represents your health and fitness. And I don't mean just your physical, I mean your spiritual health, your mental health, your physical health. And right now, because of the static and the noise that we've given ourselves, we watch things, we listen to things, we eat things, We say things and think things that don't reflect what the Word of God tells us is true about who we are. And when that happens, unfortunately, this is going to create this dirty water, if you will, for this metaphor. And it's kind of like one of those things where you want to dump it out, but it's so heavy, it's so full. And it's one of those things where if you, instead of trying to dump it out and start from scratch, you instead just begin to put a hose in it. If you've ever seen dirty water in a bucket, you put a hose in it and it goes from the bottom and fills up fresh water. And after a while, you stop seeing the dirty water overflow the top and it just is clean. You didn't dump anything out. You filled it. You overflowed it so much with the truth. You overflowed it so much with positive actions, with actions that align with your goals, your lifestyle, your beliefs, your system. And this is what leads to that clear, fresh water that we're talking about. That's what you've got to do when it comes to your unconscious or your subconscious mind. If you have programming that says, I'll never get fit. Well, I can do great with money. I can do great with my walk with the Lord, but I just can't quite get myself healthy and fit. Does that make sense? Hopefully this is making sense. I know I'm using a lot here, different metaphors, but hopefully this makes sense. Okay, so with that being said, the next thing you want to do is, if you want new outputs like your health, your joy, your peace, your energy, fitness, strength, you need new inputs. So you don't remove old beliefs by force. It doesn't work that way. But you can replace them through repetition and saturation. That was that struggling analogy I made, or metaphor, pertaining to the bucket of water that we're filling up with new fresh water, okay? We would love to dump out the old stuff, but it just doesn't work that way. You can't just pluck out and, get that thought out. But what you can do is flood it with new thoughts that you do believe align with your goals and your vision. And this works immensely through repetition and, again, through saturation, okay? So you must put those things that you desire in here. Again, as the word says, out of the abundance of the heart flows, okay? So, or I guess put another way is out of the, I think it's the way it says. Of course, I get that backwards right whenever I'm on a live here. I think it's out of the mouth flows the abundance of the heart. There we go. Same thing with your thoughts. Your thoughts and what you speak are going to flow out of the abundance of your heart. So we want to replace the things that are going to lead to a better environment, a better outcome. Okay, I'll move on before I struggle anymore here. All right, so so anyway, that's going to affect what comes out. So what I want you to do is to ask yourself daily, am I feeding my mind with truth, identity, faith, and what builds me up? Or am I recycling the same trash that's kept me stuck for years? Whether that's old beliefs, old thoughts, or just things that keep you down and keep you worried and frustrated. Guys, if you're constantly feeling like you're overwhelmed with all the news and all the events going on, that's going to affect your finances, your business, and how you show up with your kids and your fitness and all of this. So if you begin limiting and replacing that with, again, maybe, messages from expository pastors and those who are actually teaching the word in a way where you're going to grow and get wisdom, it's going to change everything, not just your business, not just your fitness, but everything in your walk of life. That's what we're talking about here. And hopefully that makes sense. Now, your results are not random. They are reflections of your input. So you need to know you are in control of your health and fitness. If you're not getting the outcomes that you want in your body, your energy, your health, your mindset, don't start with discipline. Don't start with motivation. Start with what's being input daily. Those affect your motivation and your discipline, okay? Those are your outputs. So you want to check your inputs, and that will lead to the solution that you're wanting to find. Input drives your identity. Your identity drives your behavior, and your behavior drives your results, okay? So hopefully this helps you guys. I know I kind of bounced around a little bit, but if you're like many of my clients where you're absolutely just killing it in your career, but you still feel stuck with your health, your fitness, your body confidence, your energy, start by adjusting your inputs, what you put into your mind and your heart. Again, out of the abundance of those things will flow out your thoughts, your what you speak, and how you behave in your actions, okay? So what you feed your mind, your ears, your eyes, it all matters. Shift those, okay? And I guarantee that your outputs, the results, are going to be so much better and way more permanent. So thank you guys again. Thanks for bearing with me. I know I'm not always going to be articulate. in certain things when I'm trying to get out a message. I appreciate it. Hopefully it makes sense what I was trying to convey here. It really has helped my clients immensely over the last 20 years. It's helped me. I hope that you'll be able to apply this. If you have any questions or if you need this to be a little bit more clear, drop a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and look out for the next video. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you on